Hello everyone, my name is Soo Yeon Lyuh and I play haegeum, which is Korean traditional string instrument. This is haegeum, and haegeum has two strings. And these strings are made of twisted silk, so it's very flexible. So the strings are far from the neck of the instrument, so even just one fingering, I can reach a pretty wide range of pitch. Just pulling the strings. So we can make very different types of vibrato. So from now on, I would like to introduce some types of vibrato. So first one is constant one. The next, start with narrow to getting wider with crescendo. And next, from wide to narrow with diminuendo. And also, while doing vibrato, we can shape the pitch. So usually in my piece, most of vibrato is upward. Start with the main note, written note. But the vibrato marking, which has a big curve, I call it release vibrato. And it starts with targeted note and go downward. So it's getting faster and softer. My piece Yessori has 5 different sections. Section A is based on Korean traditional court music, and Section B is based on folk music, and Section C is more improvisation part, and Section D and E also based on folk music. In my piece, you have to pay special attention to the grace notes, the slur. So sometimes it comes before a main note, and sometimes it comes after a main note, but you have to play with the slur. I'm gonna play first part. And here there is a hooking the fish technique. So the grace note D flat. So the down bow should change very abruptly. And B flat make a big crescendo. Then there is a comma. A comma means take a breath. And these 4 bars are more like a tempo rubato, so feel free and take a rest between phrases, between bar measures. And bar 3, between F and E flat notes, there is a slide. And also you can expand or contract this pattern. Like this. And this vibrato, we call it whispering or ghost sound. So you should play barely audible. Here, the getting loud and slide down and release. You should pay attention to the entrance and exit point of vibrato, like very last two notes. Start here.
So Soo Yeon wrote this piece for Kronos, and it is our job to basically sound like her instrument, and it's so expressive. And that's the great thing. It's a string instrument, so we do have that going for us. We can actually modulate the sound like she does. Like she explained how the vibrato can start a normal vibrato or a small one, and then get larger, or start wider and then get smaller. So you have these different techniques, but when you put it with our instruments, it changes our instruments not from a Western, but becomes more of a Korean sound, which I think is really marvelous. And so I'm going to demonstrate the opening, what she just did, and hopefully I'll try to sound more like her than what a Western instrument would sound like.
Next, I'm going to demonstrate release vibrato. You start with a written note pitch, and then it goes downward and getting softer with diminuendo. Next, the Sunny will demonstrate with her cello.
So this is the release vibrato that Soo Yeon was just talking about. And on the part, it looks like a big curve in front of our regular wiggles that we are used to seeing. So on the main note, in which case I'll demonstrate here, it's B flat. You stay there for a while and then you go down and then get faster. I'm gonna demonstrate one more time.
Major 17 viola part, there is a shaking note. So use same finger and use one bow, and there is a gliss, and you should take time so you can hear the all microtones.
So Soo Yeon just demonstrated the shaking note, and I'm going to do that on the viola, so hopefully it will sound very similar to what she just did. In the first section, it's very, very difficult to count because it's very, very slow. And so we devised in how to play this. We had certain people cue the downbeat. So you can actually be away from everybody else, but then you sort of gradually get to those people who are cueing those downbeats, so you have a general idea of where you are. And it works really beautifully. Then you don't feel like you're straitjacketed into playing always with someone, but there's a freedom then that's allowed. And then, of course, when the drum comes in, that sort of solidifies everything. Everybody's really right with that drum always.
Section B is based on folk music, so it is more rhythmic. So I used the 10-8 rhythm here, and you can count 2 5 beats, like 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. Now I'm gonna play gong with that rhythms. So yeah, now you can see the third beat, I dampen the gong.
So I have the drum part in the quartet, and in case you don't have this beautiful Korean gong available to you, you could actually go through your kitchen and find a good size pan that has nice resonance. In our case, we found this one, good for soup. We got this mallet, but again, I think you should experiment to see what kind of sound is most similar to this gong. So I'm going to just demonstrate the rhythm pattern that Soo Yeon wrote for us. There are many variations you could do, but the most important thing is to keep the first two main beats audible. So these two beats. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, and then you can go on. Or you can go do this, or there are many variations you could do, but just making sure that the first eighth note and the sixth eighth note are audible. I'm not sure if Soo Yeon mentioned, but some of the notes are dampened, not letting it ring. So this, or you can make it damp.
And now I'm going to demonstrate with my instrument, section B. As I told you, you can count 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. So first note, there is a slide. To start with the lower, then and reach to the targeted note, but not too fast. And second note, there is a little bounce, and you can just feel like a staccato with tenato. And bow should be slightly lift up. And third note, there is a wide vibrato, the fast, wide, and you should start with attack.
The section B, the drum part, I'd like to demonstrate that. She had her sliding to the first note, and then a short note, and then a wide vibrato. So it's... Do it again.
Measure 44, you can see the C mark. So it is bounce and start with from the lower note and reach to the targeted note. And you should use one bow, same bow.
I'm going to demonstrate the C note that Soo Yeon just did. And that is actually designated with a C over the note. And she said there's a slide, sort of a dip to the note, from below the pitch to the note. And this is measure 44.
Section C is pretty open, so you can improvise. I gave you different 9 phrases, all of you same part, and you can choose whatever you want, and you can recombine, and you can make your own phrase. And also the order and form is pretty open too, so you can do solo, duo, and trio, quartet, and the decision is really up to you.
So this is the C section, which is the improvisatory section. And Soo Yeon asked me to start it with this particular theme, and then people generally come in at a certain point. we also, in practicing it, we found that if everyone's playing all the time, it becomes a little too cacophonous and you can't understand the lines. So we chose to play duos and trios, and when like the third person comes in, sort of fade away, so that there's always some line and some, you can follow a line as opposed to being just a blanket sound. And so here's the opening of this. Something like that, but it's always free. You're in your own time, and you don't have to coordinate with anyone else. And here's another section of that. Let's see. So you have lots of different kinds of emotion going on, and you're in your own world, which is great. And then there's a point where it's the right time to stop, and someone will end it. And then there's a huge cue for the next section, which is much more rhythmic and insistent and very, very powerful. So it's a very big contrasting to this slow, improvisatory, but slow and expressive section.
Section D and E are both they use the Korean traditional folk music rhythmic patterns. The D is fast and E is slow. And D you can count. It is 12/8, but you can count in 4. And E I used 18/8, and you can count in 6.
And the next section, I believe I want to say a little bit about this, the powerful, insistent section. It's fast and, with almost a folk element, and everyone's just out there playing, very, very forcefully. And then the end is much more stately again. It goes way, way slowly, and it ends all in unison, which is really lovely. But I want to also say that this piece is so beautifully done that it allows us to become Korean instruments or Korean musicians, and it's really an insight to the culture, and I think that's very, very important for musicians to understand. So I'm very, very happy with this piece, and I hope you enjoy it.
Thank you, and hope you enjoy my piece.